Every morning, before your feet hit the floor, the world is already waiting to pull you off center. Notifications, expectations, doubts, noise. And if you're not grounded, you'll be swept into reaction. You'll live by impulse instead of intention. That's not how a Stoic starts the day. A Stoic doesn't reach for their phone. They reach for their foundation. A whisper that cuts through the chaos. I am the commander of my mind. This isn't just a sentence. It's a stance, a posture, a choice. Because how you begin the day is how you hold yourself through the day. Affirmations get a bad rep. Some call them wishful thinking, delusion, fluff. But to the Stoics, words weren't decoration. They were discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not to impress, not to post, but to train his mind like a soldier preparing for war. That's what affirmations are. Not motivational quotes, but mental armor. Strategic, intentional, powerful. In this video, we're not chasing hype. We're crafting your internal code. 10 affirmations, 10 pillars, 10 silent oaths to yourself. They're not loud. They don't beg for likes. But if you say them, live them, and mean them, you'll walk into the world unshaken. Let's begin. Even if I don't know how yet, I will figure it out. There's a moment every morning, right after you open your eyes, when doubt tries to sneak in. It doesn't come in shouting. It comes in whispers. What if I can't do this today? What if I mess it up? What if I'm not good enough? And just like that, before the world even speaks, your own mind tries to vote against you. But this is the moment where a Stoic responds, not with bravado, but with a quiet, unshakeable truth. I am capable. Not because everything will be easy, not because you're fearless, but because you've proven it to yourself time and time again, even when you didn't realize it. Think about it. How many times have you faced something you thought was beyond you, and then figured it out? That conversation you were scared to have, but did. That hard decision you were afraid to make, but made anyway. That task you didn't think you could handle, but you completed it. You didn't feel ready. You weren't confident. But you showed up. And that's the essence of capability. Not certainty, but willingness. Your mind is like an engine. It doesn't start because everything's perfect. It starts because you turn the key. The key is action. No matter how small, no matter how unsure, because every time you act, despite uncertainty, you train your brain to respond with motion, not hesitation. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What does that mean in practice? It means you don't need to have all the answers right now. You only need to be willing to take the next step. That's it. Let go of perfection. Let go of the pressure to know everything. Let go of the fear that mistakes mean you're not ready. Mistakes are not proof of failure. They are evidence of effort. They're part of the blueprint of growth. Capability is not about flawless execution. It's about steady engagement. It's about showing up for yourself, again and again. So if today feels overwhelming, if that project seems too big, if that conversation feels too uncomfortable, pause, breathe, and say, out loud or in your heart, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm willing to try, and that makes me capable. Then take one action. Send one message. Start one task. Move your body. Reclaim your mind. That's how you win the day, not by knowing everything, but by daring to begin. Every time you move forward, even just a few inches, you reinforce the truth. I am not fragile. I am capable. And if you say that often enough, your actions will start to align. Your posture will shift. Your doubt will lose its grip. And your inner engine will roar. And once you remember that you're capable, it's time to remember that you're also powerful enough to shape how you see the world. Asterisk, asterisk. Let's move to the second command. I shape my reality. Life isn't just what happens to you. It's what you make of what happens to you. But most people don't realize this. They move through life like passengers, reacting to everything, carried by circumstances, blaming the world for every emotional storm. But here's the Stoic truth. You are not a passenger. You are the one holding the lens. And that lens, how you interpret what happens, shapes the world you live in. Imagine this. Two people go through the same situation. Both lose a job. One spirals into despair, believing they're worthless. The other sees it as a signal to start something new, a reset, a release, an opportunity. Same event, different reality. What changed? The frame. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." That's radical. It means your experience isn't determined by events. It's determined by your interpretation of those events. In modern language, you don't live in the world. You live in the world. Your mind builds about the world. And your mind, it builds based on the stories you choose to tell. This is why the Stoics trained their perception more than their emotion, because emotion follows focus, and focus is shaped by framing. What you focus on expands. If you fixate on what's unfair, resentment expands. If you focus on what you can do, strength expands. So here's the Stoic technique. Reframe everything, or be ruled by everything. Let's get practical. You get criticized. Default lens. They're attacking me. I'm not good enough. Stoic lens. This is feedback. What can I learn from it even if it stings? You get rejected. Default lens. I wasn't chosen, so I'm not worthy. Stoic lens. Their preference doesn't define my value. It simply redirected me to something better aligned. You fail. Default lens. I'm a loser. Stoic lens. Every master was once a beginner. Let's study the loss and rebuild stronger. Your lens doesn't just color your experience. It creates your identity. Repeat a disempowering frame enough, and it becomes your default story. But shift your lens often enough intentionally, and your mind starts building a new worldview. And with it, a new you. So how do you reframe? Start with awareness. Most people react before they reflect. So next time something irritates or disappoints you, stop. Literally pause. Breathe. And ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Is this the only possible interpretation? What would a Stoic, calm, composed, intentional choose to see instead? Sometimes, it's as simple as shifting one word from "Why is this happening to me?" to "What's this trying to teach me?" That one change takes you from victim to strategist. Now let's talk metaphor. The world is a painting, but you're the one holding the brush. If you focus only on the shadows, you miss the composition. But if you choose where the light hits, you begin to see meaning, connection, and beauty. That's not delusion. That's discipline. That's inner authorship. Your mind is also like a camera. You decide where to zoom. Zoom in on failure. That's all you see. Pull back. You start to notice patterns, growth, and progress. It's not the scene that changes. It's the framing. And that framing is your responsibility. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." That means the more often you choose clarity, the more your mind becomes a factory of clarity. It becomes your nature, your edge, your weapon. So when the world starts pressing in before you react, before you spiral, say this to yourself: I don't react to the world. I reshape how I see it. And mean it. Because when you master your lens, you don't just survive the world, you redefine it. And once you've chosen your lens, you stop waiting for direction, you create your own. Now, let's move to the next command. My path is clear. Life rarely gives you a perfect map. No flashing signs. No guarantees. No neat little arrows saying go this way. Instead, it gives you noise, uncertainty, options, dead ends. And sometimes, even worse, it gives you silence. No clarity, no response, just fog. But here's where most people get stuck. They wait for the fog to lift before they move. They wait for perfect conditions before they act. And while they wait, life moves on, without them. But not the Stoic. The Stoic doesn't need full visibility, because the Stoic has internal direction. My path is clear. Not because the world removed the fog, but because I chose where to walk. Clarity isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about knowing your values and using them as your compass. When you move in alignment with what matters, you can walk confidently, even if the road twists, even if people don't get it, even if no one is clapping, because the Stoic doesn't chase applause. They follow virtue. Epictetus said it best. First, say to yourself what you would be. Then, do what you have to do. Your vision comes before your direction. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just the next step that honors who you are becoming. That's where real clarity begins, from within. Let's talk about distraction. Every day, something will try to pull you off course. Social media, comparison, random urgency, other people's timelines. And if you don't have a personal compass, you'll drift. You'll react. You'll live someone else's plan. But when you wake up and say, My path is clear. You remind yourself to return to your chosen direction, not the distractions of the day. Try this. Start every morning by writing one action that aligns with your higher self. We call it the daily direction. It can be small. Reach out to someone you've been avoiding. Finish the uncomfortable task you've been delaying. Say no to something that doesn't serve your values. Practice stillness when you're tempted to react. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be deliberate. One action equals one compass point. That single moment of clarity can shift the momentum of your entire day. And then, at night, reflect. Ask yourself, did I move in alignment today? Did I act from my values or my impulses? Where did I drift? And how can I adjust course tomorrow? This isn't about control. It's about calibration. A Stoic doesn't panic when the path bends. They adapt without abandoning purpose. Here's a metaphor. Imagine you're crossing a river on stepping stones. The fog is thick. You can't see the other side, but each stone you step on gives you just enough balance to reach the next one. That's life. You don't get the whole picture all at once, but with each intentional step, the next stone reveals itself. That's not luck. That's movement with purpose. So even when things feel uncertain, even when people doubt you, even when you're not sure if you're ready, remind yourself, I don't need to see the mountaintop. I just need to trust the step I take today. That's clarity. Not from sight, but from conviction. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not behind. If you move with purpose, your path is already forming beneath your feet. Say it again. My path is clear. Because clarity isn't out there. It's in you. And every time you act from your values, you light the way forward, even through the fog. And when your steps are guided by purpose, you start to realize something powerful. Every challenge on the road is actually making you stronger. Now let's move to the next command. I grow stronger daily. Most people see pain as punishment. They see discomfort as a sign to stop. They flinch at failure. They avoid friction. They crave ease and wonder why they never evolve. But the Stoic sees it differently. To the Stoic, pain is not the enemy. Discomfort is not an interruption. It's part of the process. It's the anvil on which strength is forged. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens when you step into tension and refuse to back down. Not out of pride, but out of purpose. Because every time you endure something difficult, you build a deeper tolerance for adversity. You sharpen your resilience. You grow stronger. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That means obstacles aren't detours. They're direction. They're not the reason you're stuck. They're the opportunity to stretch. So when something feels heavy, inconvenient, even painful, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What muscle is this building?" Think about it. You don't gain strength by lifting feathers. You get stronger by facing resistance. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Each time you deal with something hard, a loss, a betrayal, a challenge, a delay, You have two choices: break down or break through. And the only difference is how you interpret it. Let's get practical. Use the discomfort diary. Every day, ask yourself, what did I avoid today because it felt uncomfortable? And then, tomorrow, go toward it. Even for 5 minutes. Even if you stumble. Even if your hands shake. Why? Because avoidance creates weakness. But exposure builds immunity. That hard conversation you've been avoiding, that new habit you've been resisting, that fear you've been stuffing down, those are all opportunities in disguise. And here's the secret. It doesn't have to feel heroic. It just has to be honest. Did you show up, even when it sucked? Did you stay in the fire, even for a minute longer than usual? Did you choose effort over escape? If the answer is yes, you grew. You're not meant to coast through life untouched. You're meant to be refined by life, like iron in flame, like a sword in the hands of a master. So when you're tired, when everything in you says quit, but something inside says just one more step, that's the moment you're transforming. Because true growth isn't loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like frustration, like fatigue, like emotional soreness. But the soreness is proof that something is being built. Say it out loud and say it like a vow. Pain doesn't weaken me. It forges me. And believe it. Because if you choose to lean into the tension instead of running from it, you'll become someone few people ever meet, unshakable. So write down today's discomfort. Look it in the eye. And tomorrow, walk toward it. Just a little. 1 inch. 1 step. 1 rep. That's how strength is built. Not in giant leaps, but in consistent defiance of your limits. When you realize you're growing stronger, not despite the fire, but because of it, you raise your personal standard. You stop settling. And that leads us to the next command. I commit to excellence. Most people live by what's visible, what's praised, what's rewarded. They hold effort like a performance, only polishing what others can see, only trying when someone is watching, only giving their best when it benefits their image. But a Stoic doesn't move that way. A Stoic lives by an inner code, not external applause. Because true excellence doesn't show off. It shows up. When the Stoics spoke of arete, they weren't talking about perfection. They were talking about moral excellence. A commitment to doing what's right, what's noble, what's worthy of the person you claim to be, even when it's invisible, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one will ever know, especially then. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's excellence. Not dramatic, not public, but principled, quiet, relentless. It's how you respond when you're tired. It's how you act when no one is watching. It's how you speak when you could stay silent. It's how you carry yourself in small moments, because those are the ones that shape who you truly are. Excellence is not about ego. It's not about being better than others. It's about refusing to be less than your best self. It's about holding a higher standard, not for validation, but for alignment. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Picture every small action you take, like planting a flag into the ground. Each one says, "This is who I am." You're not just replying to an email. You're practicing precision. You're not just folding laundry. You're practicing order. You're not just helping a stranger. You're practicing character. That's the power of excellence. It's cumulative. Each small act builds the identity of a disciplined, thoughtful, unstoppable person. Let's talk practical. Create your own ritual every night. Ask yourself, where did I show up with excellence today? What did I do that no one saw but I'm proud of? What would my highest self have done in that moment? And did I follow that? This reflection will change the way you show up, not because someone will praise you, but because you'll start to feel aligned again. And on the hard days, when you feel like coasting, like cutting corners, remind yourself, excellence is a decision, not a mood. It's not about motivation. It's about identity. You do the hard thing, the right thing, the thorough thing, not because someone is scoring you, but because you've already decided, I don't operate sloppy. I don't mail it in. I don't betray my own standard. So, go do something today that no one will see. Do it anyway. Perfect your craft. Hold the door. Fix the detail. Keep your promise. Because that's Stoic excellence. Doing good without seeking attention. Doing it because it feels right, not because it looks right. That's what builds confidence. That's what earns self-respect. That's what makes you untouchable, not in image, but in spirit. Say it now, and say it with your chest. I don't do things to be seen. I do them to be proud. Let that be your filter. Let that be your North Star. Let that be your standard, because the world doesn't need more impressive people. It needs more excellent ones. When you start living by a higher standard, you stop making excuses and start making progress. That leads us directly into the next command. Excuses do not define me. Let's be honest, excuses are clever. They dress themselves up in logic. They sound responsible. They feel safe. I don't have time. I'm not ready yet. This just isn't the right moment. But underneath every excuse is one uncomfortable truth. You're scared. And instead of facing the fear head on, you hand it a microphone and call it rational thinking. Here's what excuses really are. They're mirrors. Not the kind that reflect your strength, but the kind that reflect your smallest self. They show you the version of you that hides, avoids, delays, doubts. And every time you accept them, you reinforce that image. You say to yourself, this is who I am. Someone who can't. Someone who won't. Someone who stops. But you're not that person. Not if you're here. Not if you've been paying attention to this path. So it's time to smash the mirror. Excuses don't protect you. They limit you. They trade your potential for your comfort. They offer relief in the moment and regret in the long run. The Stoics had no time for excuses because they knew something vital. You can't control everything, but you can always control how you respond. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that reaction includes whether you listen to your excuses or rise beyond them. Let's talk strategy. Use the excuse to execution method. Step 1. Name the excuse. I'm too tired. It's too late. I don't know how. Step 2. Ask yourself, what would I do right now if I didn't have this excuse? And then do it. Even 10%. Even 1%. Because once you take action, the excuse loses power. Excuses need inactivity to survive. Movement starves them. Here's a simple truth. You're never going to feel ready. You're never going to have the perfect conditions. You're never going to eliminate every fear. But you don't need to. You just need to take action in spite of them. Let me remind you, you've overcome before. You've faced fear before. You've done hard things before. And guess what? Every single time, you walked away stronger. So why stop now? Why shrink now? Why give in to a voice that's only ever made you smaller? Let this be the turning point. From this day forward, you tell yourself, I don't negotiate with my limits. I rise beyond them. Because the version of you, you're becoming the disciplined one, the focused one. The relentless one doesn't have time for soft lies. They make hard choices. They show up anyway. They execute. Try this. Tonight, write down the top 3 excuses that show up most in your life. Then next to each one, write, what's the truth underneath this? What would I do if this excuse didn't exist? What's one small step I can take to break it? This simple practice can rewire the way you speak to yourself. It gives you back your agency. It puts you back in charge of your narrative. Because you are not your excuses. You are your actions. So the next time your mind whispers, I can't, you interrupt it with action. You interrupt it with effort. You interrupt it with belief. Not because it's easy, but because you refuse to be defined by limitation. Say it with conviction. Excuses do not define me. I rise beyond them. Let that be your new identity. Let it replace every story that held you back. Let it become your new mirror. Not the one that shows you playing small, but the one that reflects your potential fully awake. And once you stop giving power to excuses, you unlock the energy that was always inside you. And that brings us to the next command. I am designed for greatness. Somewhere along the way, you were told to shrink, to stay small, to not reach too far, to be realistic. And maybe you started believing that greatness was reserved for the chosen few, the loud, the famous, the perfect. But here's the truth. The Stoics knew greatness has nothing to do with fame. It has everything to do with alignment. Living in alignment with the best in you, that's greatness. And that greatness is not optional. It's a responsibility. Marcus Aurelius said, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. In other words, you were not made for passivity. You were not made to coast. You were made to contribute, to build, to rise. Greatness is already built into your design, but it's your job to activate it. Let's reframe what greatness actually means. It's not about accolades. It's not about titles. It's not about applause. Greatness is how you carry yourself when no one's paying attention. It's the daily commitment to act from the highest version of who you are, not the most comfortable one. Because let's be honest, your potential doesn't need more hype. It needs more honoring. Every time you scroll past the thing you're supposed to start, every time you let fear make the decision, every time you say, "I'll start next week," you're not just procrastinating, you're ignoring your design. And when you ignore your design long enough, you start to forget who you really are. But here's the good news. Greatness is never gone. It's just dormant, and you can wake it up every single day. Start with this one question: what would the highest version of me do today? Not the comfortable version, not the tired version, not the lazy, distracted, fearful version, but the version of you who's clear, focused, grounded, brave. The one who doesn't react emotionally, but leads strategically. That version lives in you, and they're waiting for activation. So here's the challenge. Every day, do one thing your higher self would be proud of. We call it the high self act. It could be small. Making that difficult phone call. Holding your tongue instead of reacting. Getting up early to train your mind or body. Saying no to something that drains you. Choosing silence when noise would have been easier. One act. Each day. Do it long enough, and your life will stop being driven by impulse and start being led by intention. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to be intentional. Because when you live from purpose, you'll look back months from now and realize you don't just have potential. You've been honoring it. And that's greatness. And yes, there will be days you fall short. But even those days are part of it. Because greatness isn't about being flawless. It's about being faithful. To the vision, to the process, to the deeper version of you that refuses to settle. So stop waiting for permission. Stop downplaying what you carry inside. Stop treating your gifts like hobbies. You weren't designed to survive. You were designed to lead, to grow, to shape the room with your presence. Say it now, out loud. I am designed for greatness. And then go prove it not to the world, but to yourself. And once you stop asking for permission to be great, you stop seeking validation from the outside. You no longer need to be understood, because you've chosen to live from within. That brings us to the next command: external opinions do not sway me. Let's get one thing clear. You will be judged, misunderstood, criticized, talked about, questioned. Not because you're doing something wrong, but simply because you're doing something. And the more you grow, the more noise you'll attract. But here's the Stoic response to all of that. I hear them, but I don't hand them the pen to write my identity. Most people live like flags in the wind, changing direction with every comment, every opinion, every sideways glance. But a Stoic is a fortress, grounded, rooted, unmoved by passing noise. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. What a paradox. We value our inner world, but hand over our peace to someone who doesn't even understand our path. That stops now, because opinions are like wind. They shift. They swirl. They carry dust from someone else's mind and try to throw it into yours. But wind only has power when you forget who you are. So here's the Stoic technique. Create a mental filter. Every time someone gives you feedback, asks a question, makes a judgment, run it through 3 questions. Who said it? Do they live a life you respect? Do they embody the values you believe in? Is it true? Not did it sting, not did it make me feel insecure. But is it rooted in actual truth? Does it help me live closer to virtue? Does this make me better, sharper, more aligned with my higher self? If the answer is no to all 3, thank it for its presence and let it pass. You're not required to absorb every projection someone throws at you. You're allowed to listen without allowing it to define you. Let's say someone says, "You've changed." Your answer, "Yes." That's called growth. They say, "You're too much." You respond, "For you, maybe. But I wasn't built to fit inside someone else's limits." This isn't arrogance. This is boundaried clarity. Because when you allow others to shape your identity, you become a mirror, just reflecting whatever they throw at you. But when you choose to live from your own code, you become the architect. And architects don't wait for applause. They build based on blueprints. Blueprints rooted in truth, in purpose, in virtue. So the next time someone judges you, take a breath. Run it through your filter. And remember, this might be their opinion, but I'm the one living this life. Let them speak. Let them assume. Let them misunderstand. You don't have to defend yourself against every noise. Silence is also power. Stillness is also strength. Clarity doesn't need explanation. And here's the truth. Most people's opinions of you have more to do with them than with you. Their bias, their fear, their lens, their insecurity. Don't internalize someone else's distortion and call it your reflection. Say this to yourself daily. I respect others' perspectives, but I answer only to my values. Because when your identity is written by inner principle, not outer perception, you become unshakable. You move from reaction to reign. So say it clearly, firmly, and freely. External opinions do not sway me. I am the one holding the pen. And build your fortress not out of walls to keep people out, but out of clarity that keeps your truth in. And once you stop giving others the power to define you, you finally return to the only moment that matters, this one. Fully present, fully aware. Let's move to the next command. I embrace the present moment. The past will try to own you. The future will try to distract you. And both will try to keep you out of the only place that truly exists now. This is where most people live, somewhere between memory and worry. Haunted by what they can't change. Anxious about what they can't predict. Rarely rooted in where they actually are. But the Stoic returns. Back to the present. Back to the ground. Because that's where all power lives. That's where choice lives. That's where peace begins. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Anything that distracts from the present is a waste of life. The Stoics knew distraction isn't just inconvenient, it's expensive. It robs you of your life in real time. And nothing distracts more than a mind lost in time. Let's get honest. How many minutes, hours, but days have we wasted? Replaying past mistakes, reliving old arguments, regretting missed chances. Or maybe you don't live in the past. You live in the future, planning, predicting, worrying about outcomes, trying to mentally solve problems that haven't even shown up yet. It feels productive, but it's not. It's just mental noise that delays real action, because the only place you can ever act is right here, right now. So what is the present moment, really? It's not just time ticking on a clock. It's not just being mindful. The present moment is the arena. It's the place where decisions are made, where discipline is practiced, where self-mastery is won. The past has no leverage over you unless you bring it into the moment. The future can't pressure you unless you give it your focus now. But if you can claim this moment, the one you're in, then you regain command of your entire life. Let's reframe it. The present is not soft. It's not poetic. It's strategic. It's your battlefield where you fight for alignment. It's your training ground where you condition your attention. It's your refuge where peace becomes possible. And it's the only moment where you can speak with integrity. Choose your response. Reframe your thoughts. Show up with full power. Everything you want: growth, clarity, control starts here. Not in what happened yesterday. Not in what might come tomorrow. But in this breath. Here's a simple ritual: the 3-breath return. Whenever you feel lost, overwhelmed, or disconnected, first breath. Come back to your body. Feel the air in your lungs. Remind yourself, I'm alive. I'm here. Second breath. Bring your awareness to what you're doing. This moment, this task, this choice. Third breath. Ask, what's one action I can take now that aligns with who I want to be? That's how you return. 3 breaths. No app. No timer. No guru. Just you and now. Presence is a weapon. It clears the fog. It cuts through anxiety. It anchors you in what matters. Because here's the paradox: the more present you become, the more time seems to expand. You stop rushing. You stop multitasking your life away. You start noticing. You start living. You hear your own thoughts. You feel your own strength. You remember that you're not a slave to the noise, you're the observer of it. Let's be clear. Being present isn't always comfortable, because when you're fully here, you can't hide behind distraction anymore. You feel everything. The fear, the doubt, the discomfort, the truth. But that's a good thing, because the moment you allow yourself to fully feel is the moment you reclaim power over your internal state. No more numbing. No more autopilot. Just clear, aware, deliberate being. So ask yourself, when was the last time I was fully in the moment? When was the last time I truly savored an action? No rushing, no scrolling, no distraction. What would change in my life if I made presence my daily discipline? This isn't just spiritual talk. It's mental discipline. Because the most dangerous man in the room isn't the loudest or the fastest. It's the one who's fully present in the moment you're still trying to escape. Say this and let it settle. The now is my battlefield and my home. I don't live in regrets. I don't chase illusions. I fight here. I focus here. I rise here. And when the world tries to pull me back or drag me forward, I return to now, over and over again. Like breath, like heartbeat, like truth. Because once you anchor into presence, you can handle the emotional storms without losing your power. You stop reacting. You start leading. And that brings us to the final command: I control my emotions. I am the rider, not the horse. Emotions come like waves, but I am the one steering the ship. Some storms start quietly. It's not always an outburst or a breakdown. Sometimes it begins with a glance, a delay, a sharp word from someone you care about, a small trigger that grabs your chest and tugs at the oldest parts of you. That's when it begins. Emotion rises. Anger, defensiveness, panic, sadness, ego, old stories you thought you buried. And in that split second, you have two choices: let it ride you, or sit back down on the throne. Because that throne belongs to you. Emotions are not the enemy. They are messengers. They carry information. That you care. That something feels unjust. That something inside you is shifting. But messengers don't get to write the law. You do. You're not here to silence your emotions. You're here to train them. To listen, not obey. To feel, not follow blindly. To lead, even in turbulence. The Stoics never taught emotional numbness. They didn't say, feel nothing. They said, don't let what you feel destroy who you are. That's a subtle difference. But it's the difference between being a slave to your emotions and being the strategist behind the wheel. It's the difference between chaos and composure, between impulsive damage and intentional direction. Think of your mind as a kingdom. Every day, emotions show up like wild horses at the gate. Beautiful, dangerous, full of energy. You don't shoot the horse. You don't run from it. You don't hop on without direction and hope for the best. No, you take the reins. You feel the power beneath you, and you guide it. Because that's what emotional control is. Not force, not denial, but guidance. Picture a moment where your emotions nearly overtook you. Maybe someone disrespected you. Maybe you were ignored when you needed to be heard. Maybe fear whispered that you're not enough. And in that moment, your whole nervous system wanted to lash out, to withdraw, to over-explain, to prove yourself, to shut down. But then something in you paused, took a breath, and asked instead of reacted. You didn't let the emotion drive. You let it pass through you, like a wave passing beneath a strong ship. That's the moment you kept your throne, and that's no small thing. Here's what most people don't realize. The most dangerous damage in life doesn't come from emotion itself. It comes from unquestioned emotion, from rage that explodes without pause, from jealousy that festers unchecked, from fear that's mistaken for logic. The Stoics understood this. That's why they practiced one simple thing over and over: the pause. That tiny sacred gap between what happens and how you respond. Inside that pause lives a question, or three. Call it the emotional checkpoint. Is this true? Am I reacting to what's real or to my interpretation? Is this useful? Will acting on this make anything better or worse? Is this me? Does this reaction reflect the person I've chosen to be? You don't need a perfect answer. You just need that moment of awareness, that breath that breaks the automatic chain of reaction. Because in that breath, you reclaim authorship. You write the script. You decide who enters your throne room and who doesn't. Here's what emotional control is not. It's not coldness. It's not walking around like you don't care. It's not pretending everything's fine. It's the opposite. It's feeling everything but choosing what you allow to lead. It's saying, yes, I feel this, but I won't let it dictate the next 5 minutes of my life. Yes, that hurt, but I won't let it turn me into someone bitter. Yes, I'm afraid, but I move anyway. That is the most underrated form of courage. Try this. At the end of each day, write down the one moment where your emotions wanted control, where you nearly gave in, or where you did give in. Don't judge it. Study it. What triggered you? How did your body react? What would the wiser version of you do next time? This isn't self-punishment. It's self-governance. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to build pattern recognition. That's how leadership is forged. Because eventually, you'll become the kind of person who doesn't react wildly to everything, who isn't pulled off center by every opinion, setback, or insult. Not because you're numb, but because you are anchored. You ride the waves. You steer the horse. You own your presence. So the next time emotion rises like a storm, you don't run. You don't lash out. You don't shrink. You breathe. And from that grounded place, you speak or stay silent. Act or let go. Lead, not be led. And that's when you say, I am the rider, not the horse. I control my emotions. They don't control me. Say it again, because it's not just a reminder. It's a declaration of leadership of your mind, your body, and your life. You are not reactive. You are royal. You sit on the throne, and from here, you rule. You don't need to carry all 10 affirmations at once. This isn't about mental overload. It's about intentional living. These 10 truths are like weapons, each one sharp in its own way. Each one forged to serve you in different moments, different battles, different emotional landscapes. Some days, you'll need, I control my emotions like a shield. Other days, you'll need, I am capable like a battle cry. But the key is this. Pick one. Practice it. Make it yours. Let it shape the way you speak. Let it govern how you act. Let it become the mental armor you wear into the world. This isn't performance. This is personal evolution. Here's a challenge. For the next 7 days, pick one affirmation per week. Not just to say it, but to live it. Write it down each morning. Return to it when you get triggered. Ask, did I honor this today? When did I forget it? What did I learn from living with this truth? Track the changes, your reactions, your decisions, your energy. You'll begin to see the shift, not just in how you think, but in how you move. Because the mind, like a sword, must be trained. And every time you choose presence over impulse, discipline over distraction, clarity over chaos, you sharpen your edge. So don't just collect these affirmations, use them, wield them. Let them become silent weapons of mental sovereignty in a world that wants you reactive, emotional, and off balance. Now take a moment, breathe, and ask yourself, which one of the 10 will I carry into battle today? That's your weapon. Sharpen it. Now it's your turn. Of these 10, which one hit your core today? Which one felt like it was written just for this moment in your life? Was it, I grow stronger daily, because life's been testing you harder than usual? Was it, excuses do not define me, because you're tired of staying small? Or maybe it was, I am designed for greatness, and something inside you finally believed it. Whatever it was, don't let it pass. Claim it. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Drop it in the comments. Make it real. And if you know someone, even just one person who needs a reset, a reminder, a weapon to carry into their own internal war, send this to them, not as motivation, but as a map back to themselves. We're all walking through our own storms, but sometimes all it takes is one line of truth to anchor a whole life. And before you go, I'll leave you with this spoken, not as instruction, but as a whisper from one soul to another. Your mind is your kingdom. Speak to it like a king. Now go live accordingly.